Like, I have random people smiling at me, like, or if I'm not in the mood, and because sometimes I get quiet or whatever, people go, oh, she's so much like Wednesday, and that's a little weird. But it's not. I mean, I can't really process those numbers, and I've spent as much time as possible off of social media just because I don't really like it that much, and I feel like, I don't know, things are a big deal 1 minute and then they just kind of blow away the next. But I'm just really, really appreciative of people who have reached out or said something in public and things that have been sweet. Or there's just so many people worked on that show, and it was 8 months in Romania away from families, and I just know my cast worked really hard, my crew worked really hard, and to see them getting the appreciation and respect that they deserve is very exciting for me.
Beautiful. Let's bring it back to the beginning. Tell us the audition story. What was it like? When did you know that you were really resonating with this character?
I had always kind of been compared to Wednesday my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very dry, I'm pretty sarcastic, and it's weird because I was a big scaredy cat. I didn't like horror movies growing up, but I've always loved gore, or I've always been interested in, I don't know, I just find it fascinating. And I think that when this job came around, my entire career I've always wanted to get into film, and that's been a real big priority for me, and I had just started to do more films. I was shooting a film in New Zealand when I got the email that Tim Burton wanted to meet with me over Zoom to go over some audition sides. And I was super, super hesitant because I just didn't know how I felt about signing on to a series, but with someone, with a character as legendary and just such a badass like Wednesday, and also the opportunity to even chat with someone like Tim Burton, who, you know, films have inspired so many other great artists and have inspired myself as well. I just felt like it would be really, really stupid to not take that meeting, and I think that actually talking to him a little bit, I really appreciated everything that he had to say, and I felt like we were on the same page about a lot of things, and I knew that it could be the start of a really wonderful collaborative process.
That sounds amazing. Sounds like kismet. What was it about the role that you think drew you in so quickly?
I think because I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge. I think a lot of the times all teenage girls are written, and not to say that it's incorrect, but as just total rude little brats. And
so
you can only do that so many times and try to make it fresh and different every time. And with someone like Wednesday, we had never seen her as a teenage girl before. She's only ever been a child. So there's something really sweet and endearing about a little child saying really combative, morbid things because she doesn't know any better. She just thinks it's fun. But when you get older, you should know better, and there comes a line where, you know, it becomes disrespectful or not tolerated, and you can become really obnoxious. And I think, yeah, to be able to play someone like Wednesday and kind of find what that balance is, or when you should add emotion, or maybe there's a naive nature to her fascination with dark things so that it makes it acceptable, or, you know, because I don't know, there was just like a lot of layers that had to go into something like this, you know, when we're spending so much time with her before. She's only ever been in a one-off, you know, one-liner joke. So, you know, she's pretty much on screen the entire series, so I don't know, I just thought I knew that I would learn a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I think I really resonated with how complex of a character she was too. I feel like that's so rare in TV, and I thought, you know, as a writer, like looking at that, I was so just blown away with how many like intricacies there were. Like, what was that like every day on set? And you were also far away from your family. Like, what was that like to embody that time and time again?
Terrifying.
Really?
Yeah, because, well, I'm naturally someone who puts a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't know, I'm every day I go to work, I'm nervous, and I think working again with someone like Tim, and then also just really wanting to do the character justice because I have so much respect for her while not ripping anybody off. Christina Ricci, nobody had ever seen a Wednesday deadpan and sarcastic like that previously. She was a happy child who just enjoyed death. So it's like her impact and the way that she was able to shift everything is, I don't know, it says a lot. And I know that a lot of people who grew up watching her, myself included, you have to be able to tie in a few nostalgic aspects that keep her still that keep her familiar for audiences, older audiences, but then you have to slowly but surely add new layers or new emotions or new expressions just so that this new take and this new version that you're doing is kind of, it's like you're almost spoon feeding the audience, and that was scary because the power of nostalgia, especially after something like the pandemic, you know, it's what we crave. That's why reboots and revivals are so popular right now, because it's the only thing keeping people in the theaters. So I forgot the question at this point. So.
Was there anyone on set that really helped you get into that place and really like helped you navigate that back and forth?
I don't know. I feel that every time I shot with her, I just had to remember, okay, whatever she did, just run in the other direction. But also, I remember working with Tim was really interesting because I would ask him for notes and he wouldn't give me any, which made me panic because I need people to, I don't need it, but it's super helpful to me when people criticize or tweak just so that I know and I feel like I'm getting honest answers. But the wonderful thing about Tim and something that I learned and something that I deeply appreciate is that he trusts whoever he casts completely, and he made it very clear that what was important to me was also important to him. He told me that he would be the soundboard for my voice, and if I ever felt like I was having a hard time getting something across to other people, that he was there. He would call me to his trailer in the mornings, and we would go through the sides, and he would say, is there anything in the sides that you don't like? All right, we're going to cross them out now, we're going to rewrite something else. Or, you know, we'd be on set, and he would ask me, hey, Jenna, how do you want to block this scene? And I would walk around and do what I wanted to do, and then he would ask the crew, hey, did you guys get that? Because that is what we are doing. And that was like a really, really empowering, exciting experience for me, and I don't know, very, very respectful and overly generous. I don't know another director like that.
Yeah, that's really rare. Was there anything like you changed or anything you rewrote that you like followed this instinct and you were like, hell yeah, that was the right decision?
Yeah, there's a couple things like that. They wanted like a flash mob for Wednesday for the dance, and I thought there's no way in hell that Wednesday is going to encourage a bunch of people to dance with her and be okay with it. That sort of thing. I remember there was a line where like I'm talking about a dress, and she initially was supposed to say, oh my god, I'm freaking out over a dress. I literally hate myself. And I was blown away because that sounded like it was just like a bunch of little things like that where I felt like we were able to avoid a lot of dialogue that in an attempt to make her sound human, it was kind of like every other teenage girl. So a lot of it, there's even like, I think it's the beginning of episode 3, I'm kidnapped by this secret society called the Nightshades, and every time that we did a shot, Tim just told me to play and I would say a different line every time, and there's one line that I say where I go, oh, can you believe it? Or I say something sarcastic, and it was all of my castmates' favorite line, which was cool. And yeah, it was nice. We were all very supportive of each other, but yeah, when you're jumping around and improvising and stuff like that, it was cool that everyone was willing to play and was excited to.
I feel like now that I know that, thinking of the series more, it's like you totally see that and feel that. And there's moments and pockets where you feel like they're so real, so cool to hear. Speaking of the dance scenes, you've spoken publicly about how you choreographed them. What was that like?
Really, really stressful because that episode, we were shooting episodes, we shot in blocks, so we'd shoot 2 episodes at a time, and we shot episodes 1, 2, 6, 5, 3, 4, 8, 7. So it was, nothing was coherent, nothing was cohesive, and that was like maybe the first couple weeks of block 3 and 4, and I remember that I had told Tim, they had offered me a choreographer a long time ago, and I told them, oh no, don't worry, like I'll do it myself. I know the character, I'll figure it out. And then a week before we shot the dance, I just got the song, it was Goo Goo Muck by the Cramps, so excited. I love the Cramps.
Love the song, great song.
Yeah, but I also was doing fencing that week. I had a huge cello piece, I had Vivaldi, the 4 Seasons, the winter. I remember 2 days before we shot the dance, Tim came into my trailer during lunch and was like, hey Jenna, I just want to run things about you, run things by you and see how you're feeling about the dance. You know, I trust you, like you're going to be fine, like don't even worry about it, I'm sure you've been working on it and have this whole thing planned. And I looked at him and I was like, oh yeah, totally. Like, and it's true, like I had been watching a lot of stuff prior because I knew that I was going to have to come up with this dance at some point, so I found like archival footage of kids dancing in clubs in the 80s, and I watched Lean Lovitch music videos using the Banshees performances. Denny Levant and Beau Travail at the very end, greatest end scene of all time. But like he took his time with it where he would pause and then do something really violent and then pause and do something really violent. Bob Fosse was like another really big inspiration for me. So I had taken all of this footage that I had seen in my head, and then about 2 nights before, I decided, okay, I guess I'm just not gonna sleep, and I'm gonna try to like pinpoint things. And then of course, you get there on the day, and everything is different. And there's parts of that dance that you just kind of had to wing it.
So I love seeing it on TikTok. It's amazing. I've done it.
Netflix told me that it was going to be a TikTok thing, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then it was, and it's really, really
How many people here have done it? Everyone? Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really weird.
Was there any like inspiration for your character that you feel like you took away from, you still embody in your everyday life?
I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable with my dark sense of humor. It's hard because kind of like even right now, I was just on a talk show, and it's like you feel the need to like match people's energy a lot, and I grew up very much a people pleaser. So I kind of had to, I feel like a lot of my life, or a lot of my teenage years so far, have been like trying to keep up with everybody and make sure everything was fun and bright, and then you kind of realize that you don't have to do that all the time. And I feel like with Wednesday, I feel less of a need to go out of my way to please people, and at the end of the day, if someone's not gonna understand a joke I tell, or maybe thinks I'm mad when I'm not, it is what it is. I just would hope all I can do is be kind, be respectful, but I'm not gonna try to do something that I'm not anymore because I'm just tired.
I love that answer. It's amazing. Yeah, a lot of young people are obviously resonating with the show. Like, what does that mean to you in terms of like how you saw this being received, and are you surprised by just truly how many people are obsessed with it?
The thing about this series is, again, I was hesitant to do it. I know how much he means to a really big group of people. And yeah, I'm introducing an incredible character, one of the greatest characters ever created, to a new generation. And I think that there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I think this is the first time I've done a job where I am kind of playing a cartoon. It was the first time that my physicality was completely different. Tim wanted me to blink as few times as possible, and my posture has never been better. And like, you're walking downstairs but not bouncing. You're just kind of trying to levitate as much as you possibly can. It was like there was a lot of little things that went into it, and it felt so foreign because it wasn't natural for me. No, you don't speak like that. You don't talk like that. I try to switch up my cadence if I could, or the tone of my voice, and I don't know. I remember on set just not knowing if what I was doing was right, and you can just kind of hope. But it's definitely the project. The project that I've stayed up at night thinking about the most, for sure. Out of all the rest, even now to this day, I can't sleep at night because I think, I should have done this, or man, why didn't I do that? In first season, you're just discovering the character. Anyone who does TV could tell you, like, you don't know. How are you going to make this arc believable? And it's a lot of time to spend with the character, and yeah, this one was really scary.
Yeah, I mean, we're all creatives in this room. Like, it usually pushes your art forward and forward, and you're that obsessive about it. What was it like the last day of set? Were you ready to kind of let go, or were you still in it? Was there like a time period where you really had to distance yourself?
No, I was ready to let go. I had spent enough time. That job, it was just a lot. I felt like, it was the cello, archery, fencing, boxing, German at some point, choreographing the dance. I felt like 2 months in, I was terrified, and I would call my parents in a panic because I was like, I feel like I'm crawling on the floor right now. Like, I didn't know if I had the endurance to go and do that. So I think by the end, I remember the last scene, it was... I wasn't the last scene, but I was like the last scene in the middle of the day, and all my cast came in and they jumped around me and started dancing, and I didn't even want to jump. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's over. It was kind of surreal, and then before I knew it, I was on a flight back home with everyone, and yeah, it just felt very strange.
Well, it's definitely resonating with a lot of young people, and it means so much to people. Have you had like a fan interaction where you're like, whoa, like this is changing your life, or this a moment where you like really truly see how much this means to people?
I had this I was at like this like Comic-Con or whatever, and multiple people fainted like as the doors open. Like they like yeah. It's like something like that is terrifying. Because one, are you okay? But then two, like you're looking around like, it can't be. The show had been out for days. Like that was really weird. But then also just I just wrapped up this job in Salt Lake City, and I would go to my trailer at the end of the day, and I would have gifts from people who would like stop by the set and were like, hey, we know Jenna likes this gum. Here's this pack of gum, or here's cookies, or here's whatever. Like people were just giving me free stuff, and I don't even know them. Like I ran out to say hi, and nobody was there. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I
think that just speaks to like how much his character means to this younger generation, and it's so interesting thinking about it playing into the nostalgia, but reinventing it, and like the pressure you felt to do both. I think you did a really amazing job at. Like, you know, you watch it and you're just so captivating. It's just one of those things that you're so wrapped up in it. So
thank you.
It all paid off in the end. It's something else I really identified with the character is, and I was really struck by, especially, you know, thinking about other, you know, young women characters, is like how independent she is. And I've always wondered, like, do you find yourself being that independent? Do you identify with that, or was that kind of like a new thing you have to embody?
I naturally am very independent. As soon as I travel with my parents for work, of course, while I was a minor, but the day that I turned 18, I was working on the set of Scream 5, and my dad was with me, and I woke up the day after my birthday, and his bags were packed and everything was ready. I was like, you have a flight? Like, it's just so great doing business with you. My parents have 6 kids, so my mom, full-time earners, 5 to 6 times a week would drive me back and forth from LA, which is like a 3-hour drive, 6-hour total round trip, just so I could have a 5-minute audition that I wouldn't even get. Meanwhile, I have 2 younger siblings, I have older siblings, you know, there was games she was missing, graduations, things like that like, I can't give that back, you know, and like, my entire family made really large sacrifices, so I think for me it was, I'm very, very appreciative and very, very grateful. I don't know how I got so lucky, but it is that as soon as I was able to drive, as soon as I was able to be alone, I took my CHESP, so I got my GED earlier so I could book more jobs because I was legal 18 and I could work adult hours, you know, like whatever it was that I could do to kind of try to ease whatever pressure my family had put on, I jumped at that. I'm also very stubborn. I don't like asking for help.
What's your astrology side?
I'm a Libra.
Oh, same.
I knew it. I was like,
I don't know what it means.
That's amazing. I'm also Libra. Yeah, why do you think it's so, like, why do you think there's so few characters like that are, like, young and independent like that? It's, like, 2023, and I still was like, oh, this is new. So, as someone who is independent, I am too, I was like, goodbye at 18, but, like, why do you think that is?
You know what a big part of it is because I do feel like Hollywood is slowly becoming, you know, it's gradually opening up to diversity, and that's not even in race, but then also gender. I feel, though, that a lot of people who are established in the industry are from older generations, so a lot of characters that are being written in bigger, more high-profile projects are people who come from a different time and have a different understanding of relationships and what life is in the new world, and I think that that's why sometimes teen writing can be cringy, or you know, all the relationships are hetero, or, you know, young women are shown as damsels in distress rather than, you know, the actual superhero or the actual protagonist. I feel like it'll take time, but as long as, something that I really appreciate about my generation, and I don't know if it's because social media is such a big thing, but because everyone has such a platform and such a voice, I feel like younger people are making larger steps sooner, which is really exciting, because then we're getting into the room and starting conversations, and then whether that's dialogue that they have amongst themselves or dialogue that they do have with those older generations, I think that there's good work to be done. And yeah, like you said, there's not enough representation of young, independent, powerful, confident teenagers is a big thing too. Everyone wants them to be insecure, and that's something that Wednesday isn't. So I think I'm really glad that she's out there now.
Yeah, I agree with the confidence too. It was just so refreshing to see. It's still so not normal. It's interesting. As someone who's like embedded in Hollywood right now, I do feel like we are moving in a positive direction in terms of representation and, you know, even just like portraying complex young women characters. It's still a conversation.
Yeah, I feel like I've been doing this for over a decade now, which is really, really weird. But yeah, when I was younger, here's what I'll say. When I was younger, it was really hard getting jobs because a lot of leading ladies weren't Latina. And when you're a child actor, a lot of the jobs that you do, you're either playing the daughter of someone or a younger version of somebody, and there's just not a lot of opportunities. So it was really weird growing up and not being able to do certain things because of skin tone or just appearance, or, you know, it was like really, really frustrating and confusing. And it's been, a majority of the jobs that I booked were meant for Caucasian actresses. I just somehow slid in there and things worked out. But what really, really is exciting to me is a lot of the jobs that you see now are open ethnicity or are strictly people of color. And I feel like because we also have a lot more people of color behind cameras now, you know, directors who are making big moves and producers, I think that we are opening up. I still think there's definitely some people in high positions of power who are stuck in their old ways, but they'll die off soon. Don't worry about that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You said it's such a straight face. I feel like I'm talking Wednesday.
It's a very Wednesday thing.
What if you were to like think back of like one moment where you realized like how much this, you know, the representation part of it meant to people, like what's one moment where you really felt your impact?
When I was going to turn 5 years old, I asked my mom if I could dye my hair blonde, because I really wanted to look like Cinderella, because that was my representation. You know, that was my princess. That's who I wanted to look like. And a couple of years ago, I did this Disney show called Elena of Avalor, and she was Disney's first Latina princess. And Disney flew me out to Disney World for the opening of The Princess in the Parks, and seeing like young Latinas running around in little like Elena costumes, or my character was Isabel, little Isabel costumes, was crazy, because also it wasn't just Latinas, it was young girls of all colors. Sorry, whoa. But it was really, really strange, because that was like such a big deal to me growing up. And for these young girls, like that wasn't even a question. You know, of course Elena's their favorite, or this is why they like her. She was empowering and she was strong, and I feel like that was a moment where I realized, oh, like the work that you do and the representation that is shown, and Latinos being shown in a positive light is like such a big deal, especially when we take up a majority of audiences. It's kind of insane. That was a moment that like I still think about to this day, and it's really, really surreal to me.
Yeah, and you were in my first issue as editor-in-chief, and all the comments were talking about how much you meant to people, and it was just, I feel like we've never had a star like this, so it continues, and I hope you still feel that.
Thanks.
All right, well, I feel like that's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You can just stay seated.
Oh, this is where I awkwardly. You all stay there. I'm gonna go. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming tonight. We're in for a wonderful treat. We're going to be watching Wednesday, the first episode, titled Wednesday's Child is Full of Woe. It's about 57 minutes. And then after that, we will have a conversation with Jenna Ortega. And it will be moderated by Will Bennett. All right, so enjoy.
So good, the first special conversation. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Netflix. And I'll be moderating a fun conversation about the show. So, Jenna, come through. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, congratulations.
Sorry.
All good, get comfortable. This will be fun. First, congratulations. In the first 3 weeks, Wednesday became the second most viewed English language series in Netflix history, which is crazy. Amassed more than 1 billion hours of viewership. Like, as I'm reading this, I'm like, what? From more than 150 million households have seen the show. Congratulations. It's literally all over social media. I feel like it's unavoidable. How are you feeling?
I feel fine. I'm feeling alright. I feel like sometimes it's a little weird